Hi, we're Kit Connor and Joe Locke.
And we play Nick and Charlie in Netflix's Heartstopper.
And this is our Attitude cover sheet. What advice did we get about our characters? I'd say that we spent our first 2 weeks in prep, basically sort of getting to know our characters, really. So it was great to have Alice there at that point, because any question that you might have about any kind of backstory about a character, the one person who knows every single thing about these characters is Alice also.
We went through the script with the director would ask us what we thought the characters would think, and we'd say something, and if Alice sort of went or looked at us, she would be like, okay, well maybe we'll say the opposite thing to that. So she was just always there to help us. My
main priority, for me in particular, was trying to sort of maintain the essence of Nick, of my character, but also try and make it my own, at least to some extent. Obviously, the nature of it being a graphic novel series is that you literally have images of your characters. So approaching the role, sort of some characteristics of your character, which does make it kind of easier.
Adapting a graphic novel into screen, you have to add certain elements to the character, and especially the series is so much more of an ensemble piece. There's definitely more relationships that are different in the novel than there are in the series, which I think adds a complex element of also adding the humanities of the characters as well and making them real people.
Well, I think the representation in modern day media, it's getting better, but there are never enough queer sort of stories being shown on screen. For example, we have Yaz, and there just aren't enough trans actors or actresses on screen in media at the moment, and that's something that hopefully the show will prove to everyone, that Yaz is gives an incredible performance in the show, and I think that Yaz is one of the best performances in this show, honestly. One of the ones that I enjoyed the most.
I think becomes a stage where people start talking about diversity for the sake of diversity. And I don't think that is a fair argument for any situation, because I think our show is an example of how that isn't a fair thing for people to say, because the amount of talent and reality that comes from having a diverse cast and everyone from different walks of life, I think it adds an element of truth to the story, almost, yeah. The year before the series is set, Charlie has experienced really bad bullying, but I was never bullied at school, but there are definitely people who would say things or make me not want to walk down certain corridors when I knew they'd be there. I think that definitely puts into Charlie's story, in that I don't think that it's because of sexuality almost. I think it's just, if you are different or if you do not fit in with the norm of what society is, people will pick up on that. And I think that our show celebrates those differences, and instead of making them something for a weakness, it's almost seen as a strength. And
I think also one of the great things about this cast is that me and Joe, for example, are still in school. So we are very much somewhat. So we're still very much sort of immersed by that world of because it's a different world being in school. Everything. Even these smaller things feel massive, and I think that does sort of translate onto screen. The fact that we are still students, and really with our whole cast, especially the main ensemble, anyone who isn't currently in school, is very recently just come out of school. So we all sort of have a very good idea of what it's like to be in school, and it means to be queer in a all-boys school, I think the representation is a lot better with our show, just because sort of the understanding's a bit more there. What did we learn about ourselves? I think, why don't you start, Joe? Why don't you start?
I'll start. I don't think I really knew myself before. I always said I thought I always knew myself, and I've always been a very extroverted person, but I think that this experience and living in Charlie and meeting the most amazing people on set, we had the most wonderful atmosphere always, every day. I think it taught me that I don't need to be anyone else except myself. I don't need to dress a certain way in order to fit in. I don't need to act a certain way in order to fit in. I just need to be me. And I think that being around so many people who were just themselves and in such a open and accepting atmosphere, it really taught me that.
Yeah, I would say that the first thing is that I can't play rugby very well. I think that was
That's
one
a
of the
lie.
first,
That is a lie.
one of the first things that I would learn from my experience. But I think also, probably on a slightly more serious note, I'd say that what I've learned from Nick is that expectations are like such a can be so crippling at times, you know, for a person. You know, I sort of have grown up as an actor. You know, I started acting at a younger age, and I think that did sort of put a certain expectation on me. Even if it wasn't an expectation that people had, it was definitely there in my head. So I think making this show has really taught me that sometimes it's okay to sort of, you know, not meet those personal expectations and the expectations that you think everyone else has. Yeah, so that's definitely something that Nick brings to it.